Hi. I'm going to talk to you today about literature is a crucible. Now, you know that a crucible is a container in which things are heated to a melting point and then they change. And what's really beautiful about a good book is that it is just that, it's a container. But what you do is you bring the fire. You are the agent that allows that container and what's in the container to change its actual elemental composition. And in doing that, it also changes you. So, in Sufi teachings, there's a particular notion that the Mother of the Earth carries the sorrows of the world in her heart, and we all have a piece of that, and it is our job to meet the sorrow of the world with joy, and by so doing, transform it. Okay, so what a book offers you, a good book offers you the opportunity to take something and with your energy, with your input, by your reading it, you transform it. You change these things on the page, which that's the subject of a whole different talk of how insanely trippy that is, that I can make squiggles on a page and you understand that not only as words but as sounds, and then even weirder as meaning. Okay, so that's completely insane. But so you read that book, and what you bring to it, your experiences, your feelings, how you respond to the characters or the plot, how upset or sad or anxious or nervous or joyful or delighted or amazed or surprised, how you feel about that book transforms you, because you actually get to live a different life than your own for a little moment. And some people might look at that as escapism, but for me, it is a wonderful and amazing and glorious opportunity to engage your imagination, to build empathy, to create an understanding of other people, other cultures, other beings, other ways in this world that you might never have known had you not read that book. So that is one way in which literature is a crucible for you. And the funny thing about it is you don't actually change the book, right? But the book changes you. So I don't know if the book is the crucible or we are the crucible. All I know is that reading is a transformative experience, and that anyone who reads a book is transformed if you're truly engaged with it. Now, there are people who do this better than others. You know, there are people who write books that allow you to be transformed in greater ways, in deeper ways than other people. And that doesn't mean that you can't read for just entertainment and for pleasure. That's also fun, but if you're actually on a journey where you want to transform things, I believe that literature, in particular, is a very specific way of doing that. I feel like I need a podium. I don't have a podium kicking around my house. So what a good book can do for you is it can give you a view into other worlds, perhaps worlds that don't even exist yet, which is kind of awesome, or it can give you insight into worlds that have existed and give you the motivation that you need, sure, that injustice doesn't continue to occur in our world, or that you want to make changes for economic justice, or that, how geishas were treated and lived. You decide that you don't want, women to have to live that way. If you read a book where a woman has her feet bound, or where a woman is beaten by her husband, if that is not your personal experience in this world, and I hope that it isn't, you will have an insight as to how and why those things should be changed. So, as literature is manifesting itself as this crucible, it's helping you also to transform the world around you. So you're taking that suffering, you're taking the cosmic suffering, and you're transforming it into joy, which is what happens when you actually do make a difference. And when you're doing work that feels good and right and proper to you, and when you refuse to back down from something that you think is wrong. Literature can give you backbone. It can give you a reason why you want to take action in this world. Let's see. So for me, good books have provided me with hours and hours and hours of not just entertainment, but yes, taking me out of perhaps situations that I didn't want to be in. But also, they gave me a glimpse of how life could be. You know, families that actually interacted in loving and compassionate and respectful ways. They've given me notions that a loving relationship between two adults did not necessarily involve addiction or alcohol or these other things that, you know, my life and other people's lives could contain. What do I really want to help you understand about? I mean, there are people who don't read, and I'll be honest with you, I saw some statistics that made me weep. I actually cried. It's not that unusual. I cry pretty easy, but it said after high school, 50% of people never read another book. Like, they never read another book. To me, those are sobering and very sad statistics, especially for the United States. I mean, come on. You know, there's no excuse for illiteracy in our culture. We give you free education, that people would choose not to read books. It's like choosing to be dumb. It's like choosing not to live a million different ways. It's choosing ignorance is what it's choosing. And I can't stand that that's okay, that that's acceptable, or that people actually believe that that's an okay thing to choose. I mean, I don't know. I don't think that I am snobby. I think that I'm educated, and I think, you know, maybe I've probably read more than a lot of people, but I want that for everyone. It's very hard for me to grasp why somebody would not want a book. I love to wander through my house and trail through the bookshelves and look at, you know, worlds that I've visited, people that I've become, friends that I've made. To me, a book really is a friend. You can go back to it again and again, a really rich piece of literature, and you can learn something new every time you read it. You know, like the author has purposefully dropped little clues and treasures in there that you can go back to all of the time. And it's amazing and wonderful. And it's so mind expanding. I mean, you know, I would never have thought, even for 5 minutes, about a boy on a boat in the ocean who was traveling with a circus and got shipwrecked. I mean, all of that stuff in Life of Pi, it was crazy. That was amazing. But, you know, somebody's imagination put that together, and I was allowed to experience that adventure with an unreliable narrator and everything else. And I, you know, felt so much for the tiger and the boy and their situation. And I guess what I really want to say is that your world is limited and sad if you don't read books. And, okay, granted. I started early, okay? I was always read to as a baby, as a toddler, as an infant. I remember this, okay? And when my mother was pregnant with my sister, she taught me how to read. I guess I was pretty high maintenance even then. But I remember, you know, she said, hey, I'm going to have this other baby. I'm not going to have time to read to you all the time. And so I'm going to teach you to read. And she did. She had a friend who was a kindergarten teacher, and she taught me to read. And from then on, I didn't need her. It was just me and books from then on, always and forever. The bigger the book, the more I liked it. I mean, I don't really I guess it's kind of sad that I don't have the words to explain what this means to me, because words are the currency that I deal in. So clearly I need to shape this a little bit better. But what I really want you to understand is that a good book can change your life. Good books have changed my life all through my life. Howard's End is a book that's changed my life. I love it. It's like the best book ever. There are authors that I just go back to because their feeling for humanity, the way that they are transforming me through their writing and through my care and love for their characters, makes everything be really different for me. Alexander McCall Smith, for example, and he's lived a lot of different places, so he knows a lot of different kinds of characters. But I never, ever, ever finished one of those books without a long, good sob. Not out of sorrow, not at all, but out of being touched by his understanding of the human condition and how much compassion he has for people who are struggling to just be good, be a good person, and touch the lives of the people that are around you with goodness. I mean, it sounds so simple, and yet it's so moving. It's so touching the way that he does it. Robin McKinley is another person. She writes, I don't even know what you would call it. She writes, I don't think it's not like high fantasy. It's not like knights and swords and dragons and stuff like that. But she does write about fantastical situations. And yet her people are completely human and relatable, even though, they might have just encountered a Pegasus, or they might, discover magical powers or something like that. The actual human emotions that her characters go through are the same as we all have. And so what that crucible of literature does for me with Robin McKinley is it reminds me again and again that this human vessel that we choose to be incarnated in it's a way for us to connect to each other. That's all I think that literature is it's there to help you connect to your deepest self and to other people's deepest selves. That's why it exists. That's why people write. That's why I write. I write because I've read so much. There's no way I could not write. It's simply impossible. I could no more not be a writer than I could not be a breather or not be an eater. It's just something that I have to do because I have stories in me. And what's funny is that people will tell me their stories. Strangers. I don't know why. Maybe they sense that about me, that I have this desire to talk story, to tell stories, to connect, to want people to know about each other, about their intimate quirks, about the things that made them uniquely them. I'm often drawn to the story of Ruth because I loved my mother-in-law so much. I mean, I cleaved unto her, I did. And I love to hear her talk. I love to hear her tell me stories about her childhood and what she went through and, the experiences that really shaped her and her rationales for, why she wanted to live her life in the particular ways that she did. And when you talk to people and you hear their stories, then when you read a story in a book, you see that we are all connected and we are all just walking each other home, and that it's actually our responsibility to know about lives other than just our own. It's our responsibility to be informed, and even through fiction, supposedly not true, fiction is often truer than nonfiction because it's dealing with emotions. It's dealing with the human condition. So what I want you to take away from this is that when you add your spirit and your mind and your soul to a book, you're creating a transformation. You are creating a new thing that will emerge from that, which is you plus that book equals a brand new element, which is you transformed by the literature.